Hey, friends, thanks for joining us again. I'm thrilled to have on the line our good friend Gary Yantis, the author of the book Infinite Dangers. Gary, welcome back.
Hi, Sean. How are you today? I'm pleased to be on.
Oh, we're really pleased to have you. And the reason I wanted to have you on again, Gary, is not only to talk about your book, Infinite Dangers. I wanted to be able to help people understand that in addition to buying silver and gold and taking other measures like buying food stores, there are other things they can do to prepare against a worst-case scenario. There are things that we can do. There are measures that we can take and steps that we can take to protect ourselves and our families. So, Gary, before we get started, for those in the audience to whom you might be new, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, let me start off by saying, as people that know me, they know that when everyone else is out looking in one field, I'm in two fields over, looking somewhere else. And my own channel, which is W0TM, I cover a lot of different topics. One is silver and gold. And I'm not about to try to compete with Bix Weir, Bob Chapman, all the other folks that Sean has on his channel. I don't hold a candle to them, even though I've been buying metals from the 80s. I was employed by the Atomic Energy Commission many, many years ago. One of my jobs as an electronics engineer was testing the properties of metals, which really was the catalyst of getting me investing in silver. I found that all the other metals that I tested, simulating dropping basically a nuclear bomb from 50,000 feet on the end of an ICBM, what's going to happen to certain metals when they hit concrete. And all the other metals, be it everything from gold to aluminum to copper to whatever, it came up what it should be. But silver, I've always thought of as a mystery metal because it did things and does things that physics say it shouldn't. So it got me off in that direction. And in looking for things to come up with that, as I say, other people don't spot, I go back to a quote by Harry Houdini made in 1921, always watch the other hand. Mm-hmm. You can really play that back into politics today if you want, or play it back into anything, but there's always a diversion.
Well, and you know what, you in our correspondence, Gary, before we had this interview, we corresponded via email, and you learned a lot in your days back there with the Atomic Energy Commission about the importance of silver as a commodity, as an element that can do things that really no other element can do. And you said, if I were to tell you that there's one commodity used in almost everything high-tech and many medium-tech items as well, and by all calculations, the world will run out of this commodity in the next 20 years, if not sooner, and that you can't grow it, you can't convert it from anything else, you can't replace it with anything else. How would you feel about that type of investment? You were talking about silver, weren't you?
That's exactly right. And I've had discussions with people who fine, they're not engineers, but they say engineers, we can always get out of anything. The technical community of the world will come up with an alternative to silver when it runs out. There's lots of junk silver around that can be, people will empty out their drawers at home and stuff like that, and we'll always have plenty of silver. Well, that's not so. The trials of alchemy, of turning one metal into another, has been tried for the last 1,000 years, and we're no closer to it now than we were 1,000 years ago. So,
yeah. So silver's not a renewable resource, is it?
No, it isn't, and because silver, and there are some geological reasons for it, silver tends to be near the top of the ground. You don't find silver much below 200 feet, and there's some technical reasons for that. But because of that, the geologists of the world, people that keep track of such things, silverinstitute.org is an excellent website to go to get such information. The amount of silver above ground and below ground, 95% of the world's silver above ground, below ground, from like 5,000 years ago, has been used up. It's gone. It cannot be retrieved. It's in powder form, at the bottom of dumps and so forth. As an example, in military, which is a major user of silver, every cruise missile has 480 ounces of silver in it.
That's a stunning statistic. We wrote about that at sg2report.com once a while back. That's a monster box of Silver Eagles exploded into nothingness every time they fire off a cruise missile.
That's right. And people say, well, we'll just start retrieving silver. Well, the cost of retrieving an ounce of silver in a standard product, average product, like a boom box, an iPad, a cell phone, or whatever, silver tends to be used in little tiny bits, and the cost of retrieving silver goes up to a few $1,000s an ounce. So as silver's going to have to just go totally off the map in price before it ever gets retrieved. Silver is the most used metal in industry that there is. There's over 10,000 usages of silver, not in quantity, but in types. It's pretty hard to find any high-tech anything that doesn't have a lot of silver to it.
Right. You concluded in your email that this is really going to be a home run investment. And I think to a large degree we're preaching to the choir here. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you back on, Gary, too, was to talk about your book, Infinite Dangers. And you wrote in your email to me that you've yet to find a quote-unquote prepper or somebody who is survivalist-minded who is not also an active gold and or silver owner. And I think that's a very interesting observation. Let's talk a little bit about your book, Infinite Dangers, and maybe you can take us through that real briefly so that people can understand some of the real basic measures they can take to protect themselves in addition to buying precious metals in food stores.
Right. There are a couple of books out there for people that are, I call homesteaders, that want to go out into the woods 40 miles from the nearest dirt road and never see another human being. This is not that book. This is for somebody that has spent his or her life behind a desk, working in a store, or whatever, not used to being totally self-sufficient. I went looking for such a book about 3 or 4 years ago, could not find any. I bought something like 30 different survival books. They were either too simple or too complex. So I decided to write one. So what's in that book is a culmination of about 2 years of writing and hundreds of hours of testing products and so forth. So it's basically a guidebook to be able to survive a disaster and then to be able to survive in comfort and in good health and safety for the next 6 to 12 months. It doesn't take you beyond that. My feeling is if the world doesn't come back within 12 months, I don't want to be here anyway.
Let's talk a little bit about a couple of different things here because, first of all, how do people get the book? It's an e-book, correct?
Sure, yeah. I decided to do an e-book to begin with. I may do a paperback at some point, but if you just go to infinitedangersplural.com, you can buy it right there. You can buy it as a Kindle, Amazon Kindle, or you can buy it in a PDF edition. And if you buy a PDF edition, you get free lifetime updates whenever I do a revision. I keep a list of all the people, email of all the people that have bought the book, and they automatically get a copy of it.
That's very affordable, right, Gary? What are you charging for the book?
It's $8.95. If you put in for the listeners of your program, if they put in the code GLY1, it's $7.95. They get a $1 discount.
Great. I want people to realize that, Gary and I have no relationship in terms of compensation. I just like to have on interesting people and talk about interesting topics. So if you guys want to support Gary, then go buy his book, and you can certainly learn a few things about survival techniques and prep as well. Gary, we also talked about this fact that 98% of the people are not waking up, and you've talked to some psychiatrists who say this is perfectly normal, all part of something called normalcy bias, and it doesn't really matter how bad things get. There is just a large portion of the population that is not going to wake up in time. Isn't that the fact?
Exactly right. And I've told people, I had a lady last week, I was on email with her that either she was going to kill her parents or her parents were going to kill her.
Please click here for part 2.